Good evening and welcome to Success in the City. My name is Helen Webster and I'm with the lovely
Sandra Scott, and our guest today is the fabulous, who's on a time delay,
Philip Watson. Hello everybody, my name's Phil.
Hiya,
Amazing.
Phil.
Thank you, Phil, for joining us tonight. And we will find out more and more about Phil in a minute. I think there is a slight little time laggy delay, so we're going to stop and then we're going to pause and then we're going to let each other speak just with techie issues tonight. But our very first thing that we always do is we celebrate the kids. Okay, so to Phil, any little people who have done amazing things this week?
Well, I've got a lovely story because I'm a foster carer, which is why I'm talking to you all this evening. And the little man, as I will refer to him throughout the evening, because I'm not going to give you his name, the little man this week, he's had a cracking week because I took him to the driving range at Netherley. I don't know if that's advertising, but never mind. Other driving ranges are available. And I wasn't sure if his eye-hand coordination was going to be good. But I tell you what, we did on balls, and he really got a good little whack on it. And he did hit it. He drove a golf ball over 100 yards. What a fantastic achievement. I'll tell you more about him later.
That is an amazing achievement. 100 yards is a long, long way. That's an amazing achievement for a little person. So big shout out to the little man. Well done. Amazing. Well done. San, any little kids for you this week?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to the little people who we had Gillian Watson on a long time ago with Kevin from An Hour for Others, and she was talking about all the young people they took on the ferry today, and I'm going to be doing a little activity with them next Tuesday, which I'm really looking forward to. And she was just telling me how fantastic they've been, and they had them on the ferry this afternoon, and they did it. Kevin's doing a big positivity thing with them. So a shout out to all of the Hour for Others gang, and look forward to seeing them on Tuesday next week.
Brilliant. And I'm going to shout out to, it was Carrick's birthday yesterday, so shout out and a happy birthday to Carrick. And also, I've had 2 young people playing whack-a-ball today, and because it's summer holidays, people are going out and about and doing things. And Ethan, it's his second week, and Kieran's been coming for a while, but Kieran's hand-eye coordination is improved immensely. And Ethan, for his second week, he's going to be a whack-a-ball champion. They're both absolutely amazing, and it was lovely that, and so they absolutely just battered me, and you know, so they were just amazing, and their skill levels are just through the roof at the moment, and it's just lovely to see. So absolutely delighted to all the little people. Well done to you all. Cool. Okay, so we have a success of the week, something amazing that's happened to you. Okay, so Sandra, we're going to go first with you. What amazing thing has happened to you this week?
Well, I didn't bite the dentist, which was really good today because so Phil doesn't know this story. So Phil, I'm a very fortunate person. I've never had a filling. I've had my wisdom teeth out when I was 21 in hospital. That was dreadful. I have a dental implant there and a tooth attached to it. That's the dental work of my life. And that's it. I've had teeth whitening years ago. End of. Phil's gone now. Great. Hopefully he'll come back.
He'll come back in again. Keep going, Sam.
My story. Anyway, so I had a bit of pain like ages ago, and my mum said, oh, you need to go to the dentist, because my mum was a dental nurse as her first job originally. So she's always been funny about my teeth and everything. So I said, fine. So she made an appointment for me at her dentist by Chilwell Five Ways. So I went, and they examined my teeth and everything. Hi, Phil. They examined my teeth and everything, and it was okay. So they said, well, just come every 6 months. So that's what I do. So I went, but the first time I went, I'm phobic of the dentist, which is obviously why I don't go to the dentist. And I went, but the man asked me a question, and I went and answered, and he went, and I bit his hand. So every time I go, because he's a nice chatty chap, so he asks open questions. And I was like, so the whole time I was like, don't bite the dentist, don't bite the dentist, don't bite the dentist. So I had a win today. So that's my success. But there've been loads of successes this week. Things are moving up and we're out and about, which is fabulous. But that's my big success. I didn't bite Aaron the dentist.
Well done, you. Amazing. Okay, so now Phil's back with us. We're going to ask Phil what his success, what happy thing has happened to Phil this week.
This is going to sound very small and pathetic, but I successfully drove car that is automatic. I've never driven one before, and used to the old gear change. And we've got a new car; it's automatic. And I kept braking when I should have been changing gears. I kept looking for the gears, and I couldn't. Anyway, the good news is the wonderful people of South Liverpool, do not be in any fear. Phil can drive an automatic car all the way to the Golf and back, with a couple of kids in it successfully. To me, it was a big deal.
Oh, it's fantastic. I've got an automatic, you never go back. It's just dead easy. Yeah.
I know when I had my dad's automatic and your left leg's going like that, isn't it? And it's just, yeah, it's a bit, yeah, but yeah, cool. Well done, Phil. Yeah, amazing. And my success this week is it was sunny today. So we started our summer camps last week, and we did Wednesday and Thursday, which is where we met Phil, and we'll speak a little bit about. And it absolutely bounced down on the Wednesday and the Thursday. Weather forecast wasn't the greatest for today, but it was beautiful sunshine. So we went to Leamington and had an amazing morning, and then we went to Croxteth Park and had an amazing afternoon. So it was lovely that we were able to be dry today. You know, that was the amazing thing. Okay, so we've got Phil Watson on our show tonight, and Phil is going to explain everything that he does in a minute. But first, we're going to find out a little bit more about him, and we're going to do this or that. Sani, you going first, or am I going first?
You can go first today, Hal, if you don't mind.
Okay, so first today for me is Superman or Batman. Phil.
Superman. Oh, too quick. Superman.
No, the first time, don't worry. Why, Phil?
Well, Superman was fostered. Batman was adopted. And I've got foster kids and adopted kids. But I'd go with the foster kid first.
Genius.
Sam?
Superman or Batman? Superman, because he flies. Now Batman leaps and things like that, but he uses all technical things to help him. Superman can just go up and away, and he's off, and he has the gift of flight, which is the ultimate gift.
And I'm going to be really controversial, and I'm going to go Batman because he's got loads of dead cool things. Yeah. So I'm going to. Okay, go on, Sam.
He's got a Volvo as well. Okay, so
yeah.
Phil, German or French?
German, I'm afraid.
Okay,
I'm going to go French because I've never spoke any German, but I would like to go to Germany.
Okay.
What about you, Sam?
French. Romance languages, hands down. Every time. French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, anything before German. I'm doing a German translation over the weekend for the University of Stuttgart into English. I do I don't promote the translations work. It's just something I do on the side that seems to come to me. But I've got a German translation to do. But Phil doesn't know about my saying to 178 passengers on the 737 when I was at British Airways, Vorscheistig instead of Vorsichtig when opening the overhead lockers. Yeah, so that was a classic. So that's my claim to fame when I first started learning German. You'll be pleased to know I've improved since then. So there we go.
So we've got a few people listening. Kate's listening, and she says hi, Helen. I'm saying hi to Kate. And Brian Quinn, who was one of our guests, he says Batman. Me, Judy, and all things bad. Well in, Bri. Okay. Is it you or me, Sam? Oh, it's me. Is it? Yeah. Okay. Library or museum? Phil.
I would go. Oh, that is very difficult. That is it. Oh, I'm gonna have to go museum, because in a library you might come across something unusual, but in a museum you really do learn. You can't help but learn in a museum. But that's a tough choice. That's a very difficult choice.
What about you, Sam?
Library. When I was a child, I put cards in all my books, glued them in, and made me mum pay 20p to join my private library and get the books out. I was when I wanted to grow up and be a librarian. And when I went to St Austin's and they made me librarian and I got a badge and I was like the happiest person alive. And I had to sit on my own every dinner time in the library. And I loved it. And I was so happy. And I would just like that. And if someone got a book, I got to use the stamper. Oh, brilliant. Library, hands down. Yeah,
I'm going to go with Phil. Museum. You have to be quiet in a library.
I know, which would have been a challenge, really, in retrospect. How delusional, but there we go.
Go on, Sam.
So that's that. Okay, so Liverpool or Everton, Phil?
Brighton.
Oh, Brighton.
Have I cheated? Yeah,
No.
I'm a Brighton away fan. I'm a member of the Scouse Seagulls. I'm not from Liverpool originally. And the Scouse Seagulls were formed in 1999, me and my mate Dave, and we go to all the Northwest games away. So I've never been to see Brighton at home. I've never been to see them at the Annex in Brighton, but I've seen them at Anfield, Everton, Manchester's. And a week on Saturday, first game we're going to is Burnley away. So I'm afraid the answer is Brighton.
But Phil, where are you from?
Love that.
Where are you from?
Brighton. Well,
oh, you're from
Brighton?
Long story. I'm from. No, I'm not. I'm from South London originally, but my mate. Is this meant to be a really quick bit of the show? My mate.
Yeah,
Dave,
keep going.
20 years ago, said, "Do you want to come? No, more than 20. Do you want to come? Do you want to come with me to see Brighton play? They're playing Chester." And I went, yes, that'll be a really good laugh and a really good day out. And we went to watch, and Brighton were nearly relegated out of Division 2 into the Vauxhall Conference. And for 20 years, we started to go and see Brighton away, more and more and more, FA Cup, Championship games, and gradually Brighton have got promoted and promoted and promoted. So now we're in the Premiership. It's actually a bit of a shock because we used to just turn up at Chester or Wrexham or Rochdale and you pay tenner and just get in like when we were kids. Whereas now you've got to book in advance, you have to pay money and join, and the pies and the pints are expensive. But the answer to the question is not Liverpool, not Everton, but Brighton and Hove Albion Football Club.
How cool is that? I used to live
amazing.
Random. I've lived in Brighton and South London, and Brighton had a very small ground indeed. So I support Liverpool. There's that one done. And Helen?
And I support Liverpool as well. But I love that, yeah. I love the Brighton thing, and I love the being like the Northern, the Scouse Seagulls. I think that's an ace thing for you and your mate to do. Okay, I'm going to go last. Pogo stick or space hopper?
Okay. Sorry.
We've got our delay. Go on, Phil.
Space hopper.
Space hopper for Phil.
Space hopper.
Yeah, and space and space hopper for me, because we all know the Pauline Connor and the cut head open story on the pogo stick in Lucan Road. So it's space hopper for me. What about you, Helen?
I would go space hopper as well. And we did the Race for Life a couple of years. We did Pretty Muddy, which was a cancer. The cancer Race for Life. Well, they did a Pretty Muddy version of it, and you've been through all the money, and then you had to space hop like for so long, which was just dead funny because we could space hop really cool when we were little. It's much harder as a grown up to do space hopper.
I love space hoppers. I think they're brilliant.
Go on, San. Last one.
My last one is lasagna or curry, Phil. It looks like it. Lasagna or curry?
Lasagna. Better with red wine.
Yeah,
that's true. Helen?
Well, I got that totally wrong because I had Phil as a curry man there. So Michaela Doran's listening in. She says lasagna every time.
As well.
Oh, I don't know. I think I'd go lasagna. Yeah, lasagna.
Lasagna, cool. Brilliant. That was very interesting today.
Amazing. So now we know we know a little bit more about Phil. Are you going to introduce Phil, Sandra?
I can do. All right.
I think you should.
All right, then. So we picked Phil up Penny Lane. We met Phil in Penny Lane, and Phil and I have got a lot in common because Phil used to teach full time but doesn't now because he teaches part time and follows his other passion. And you teach modern languages in secondary school, and I used to teach modern languages in secondary school the other side of the river. So although I had taught in Chilwell as well. So you are coming to talk to us today all about fostering, which is your absolute passion, amongst other things, because you're just generally an all-round interesting chap. And as I explained to all the guests who come on, our show is about success in the city region, so in Merseyside, and about normal everyday people who are just doing so much good in our area, helping the community and inspiring others. So that's why you're here, because your dad's special.
So before Phil comes on, if anybody's listening and they want to ask any questions about fostering, or maybe they've always thought, oh, I can't do it because of this, or I can do it because of this, or whatever, if you pop them in, we'll read them as we're going along, and Phil's an expert, so he can answer them and everything like that. So we're going to hand it over to Phil, and we are going to ask you to share a little bit of your story, and then Sandra and I will just butt in and we will ask you questions as you go along. So introduce yourself and let us know all the amazing things that you do.
Thank you very much. Well, it's fantastic to talk about this because I really do like going on out fostering. And to some extent, I'm here by mistake. So we are Mr. and Mrs. Normal. Me and my wife, we're just off Penny Lane. We've got a semi-detached house. We got 2 birth kids, but we call them the kids. We don't go birth kid, you know what I mean? I was a teacher. My wife was working for the council. We got Pebble Dash. We got one of them kind of recycling bins for the compost. We had a couple of guinea pigs, absolutely normal people in many ways. And then one day, it felt a bit like it was out of the blue. My lovely wife said to me, have you ever thought about fostering? And I said, no, I haven't ever thought about fostering. And she said, well, would you like to go and find out? Because there's an information evening run by the council the other side of Sefton Park. And I went, is this like a date night? Are you trying to take me out to a fostering event? And she went, yeah, it's like the worst date night you've ever been on. We're going. So we went along, and you're going to have to interrupt me because I'll go on forever. We went along to this hall, Sefton Community Park Hall, which is quite nice. We drank lukewarm coffee and tea. Custard creams with the biscuits, which I thought was quite impressive. And basically a bunch of people there, all looking a bit nervous. And I am almost always the loudest person in the room, okay, which you've probably already gathered, because Sandra wasn't there. If she'd have been there, we'd have had better competition, and it would have been great. But anyway, this first lady stands up to talk, and she completely put me off because she was a social worker, and I've since met loads of social workers, and they're normally brilliant. But this lady kept using loads of terminology, and I was a teacher at the time, but I'd never heard of. Well, I don't think I'd heard of. She kept talking about lax, and I just sort of put my hand up and went, "You keep saying lack." And my wife's going, "Shut up! Stop asking questions. You're making a shit." And I go, "I want to know. I want to know." So she says, "Lack stands for looked after child." I went, okay, so the kids are called looked after children. And anyway, she gave me a look, I gave her a look, and that didn't go very well. Then the next person who spoke was incredible, but she put me off even more because she already was a foster carer, and she was fostering teenagers. And she said, "Hi everybody, it's great to see you, great to talk to you. I'm knackered. I'm absolutely knackered because last night I was chasing a 15-year-old with the police around Litherland." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "This kid had done a runner who she was looking after. She got the police, they tracked him down, they'd got him back to her house, wherever that was. And while she'd been gone, the other kid she was looking after had got her boyfriend round, and he was a convicted drug dealer, and he wasn't allowed to be not only in her house, but in the whole of that postcode." So I'm thinking, I am really glad that you look after these young people. But I don't want to do that because I live in a semi-detached house with 2 little kids and a wife, and I've got a job, and I'm not going around Dillon or any other area looking for runaway teenagers. But I'm glad you do it. Big, respect to you. Yeah. Anyway, the third person, and I'm here, so we changed our mind on me. The person spoke, and she was a young woman. I'm gonna guess 20. Don't know, not very old. and she'd been a looked after child. So she was an ex-lac, as they call it. I mean, what a horrible way to go through life. You're an ex-lac or a PLAC, a previously looked after child. You know, for goodness sake, she's a human being. And she just sort of looked at us, but most of them in the crowd were 30s, 40s, 50s. So she's a lot younger. And she says something along these lines. It still makes me quite emotional. She says, if I said to you, you're coming with me now to my house, would you come? And everyone's going, what do you mean? She goes, yeah. You go, what? Why would I go to your house? Or what if a person who was a grown-up said you had to go to this person's house? What if you weren't allowed to take any of your things with you? You couldn't pack anything, couldn't take anything, and you suddenly arrived at this stranger's house, and the stranger tries to be nice to you or doesn't try and be nice to you, and you don't know what their names are, and you don't know how the toilet works, how the shower and the bath works, the smells are different, you don't know what the food is, the tea is, and then you go to bed in this strange house, and you haven't got your own stuff, and you think, is it safe here? Is the door, can I lock the door? How does it work? And you're thinking, she said, basically, when you go into care, so you become a LAC, looked after child, you randomly rock up at a stranger's house. Could you be that stranger that welcomes a child? And could you make that rubbish day better? So basically, could you make a rubbish day not as rubbish? And this really got me thinking, because at about that time, and this is a little image that I'm sure most people have had, our 5-year-old, and he's 17 now, so he's bigger than me. Our 5-year-old was going at a sleepover at his mate Dan's, and Dan lived all the way in Old Swan. So, you're talking, got to be miles. And so our son, Jamie, our birth son, I said to him, so this is a couple of days later, and we were thinking about all this, me and my wife, and I said to Jamie, right, you're going to Dan's for your sleepover. Get everything you think you need for one night at Dan's house. And I tell you, my son Jamie emptied his bedroom, brought the whole lot of it out into the hallway. And I said, what is all this? And he went, it's what I need to go to Dan's. Most kids have been on sleepover. This wasn't to his nan or his mum or his aunties or whatever. This was a family friend. And so Dan's house, he's got a football goal and all the rest of it. So Jamie says, I've got all my football strips, every one of them, because we're going to play football in the garden. I've got my Power Rangers, because we're going to have a Power Ranger battle. I've got my duvet, Star Wars, my pillowcase, R2-D2. I've got, what else did he have? I've got all the sweets my mum bought me from Home and Bargain. You could go to other sweet shops if you want. Then he had all his normal clothes in case he got dirty, which, to be quite frank, he never normally cares about. So we shove all this in our Vauxhall Zafira. Again, other cars are available. We drive all the way to Old Swan. See this image, can't you, in your head? It looked like he was going away to university, but he was only 5. And we set off. And over there, he goes, oh, me and Dan, we've been planning what we're going to do. We're going to play football when we get there. Then Dan's mum has planned, what does Jamie like for tea? So we're going to have, I think it was macaroni cheese. Then we're going to watch something like X Factor or something, and we're going to vote on the phone for who we like. And then we're going to go and play with our Power Rangers. Then we're going to build a den in Dan's room. And then we're going to eat our midnight sweets. Then we're going to watch Match of the Day because we're allowed to stay up. And then, all the usual stuff, but he planned it. He knew Dan from when they were babies, because they're the family friends of ours. Dan's got 2 sisters that he knows well. He knows like where the toilet is. He knows the mum and the dad. But when I dropped him off, Saturday afternoon, you could still see he was a bit anxious, a little bit nervous. And he said to me, he goes, I will. And I said, you'll have a great time, won't you? And he goes, yeah. But if I do get scared, what do I do? And I go, well, if you do get scared, you just tell Dan's dad, Paul, to give me a ring and I'll come and get you. But you'll love it. You'll have a great time. Other than that, you have a great time. I'll see you tomorrow when I come and get you. And I just thought, when I went home, I said to my wife, the whole story, and she'd seen him go off in the car with all the stuff. And I thought, if you're going for one night with all your stuff to people that you know, and your dad could come and get you at any minute, you'd still be a little bit nervous. And then we thought, well, what is it like then for a kid who's 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 who goes into care and ends up, with strangers, and he might not, or she might not have been able to take anything with them.
And there's no
end to it necessarily. There's no, tomorrow your mom might come and get you or not.
Exactly, Phil. And I was going to say, and just you're painting a really clear picture for people there and putting us in the child's shoes. And as a teacher previously, one of the things I remember is they'd say to me, Sandra, you need to stay because he's not going home tonight. And you're going, right, okay. And I have sat with a child till 9 o'clock at night, till the social in school, till they got the McDonald's, social workers came, took him, and he had nothing, not said goodbye to a pet or anything, because something had come out in conversation in the day that had happened to him, safeguarding issue, report it, okay, social services, gone to spend the night in care. And I have had so many kids that's happened to, and their teacher at school, and you think some of the teachers you had, is that the person they want to sit with them, and whilst the social worker comes and takes them away. And you know, that's the flip side. So I know they don't get to take a thing with them. They're in the school uniform, they haven't even got to change of clothes half the time, you know. So thank you for painting that picture.
That's exactly right.
So is that what led you to go ahead and give it a go?
Kids arrive at our... Yeah, so, well, this is the funny thing, is that me and my wife, we were chatting about it. And if you're thinking about fostering, find out as much as you can, chat to your partner, chat to your family. And we just said, and this is a bit of a sort of rubbish conclusion, why don't we apply to foster? Because only 3 things can happen. The council, social workers might say, actually, you're not what we want. You haven't got the capacity. So you have to have a spare room. You've got to be over 21. There's no top age. You've got to pass a medical, and you have to go through a long training and assessment process, because obviously they want to know who you are. And it's possible that the council, the social workers will go, look, at the moment, this isn't right for you. You've got, you've got a very busy lifestyle. You've got this going on or that going on, or you haven't got any experience at all. And they might say, wait, go away and do a few things and then come back to us if you don't mind. Or, and this is why, because I do promote fostering for the council, this is why I'm a really bad or good salesman. If you apply, you can also withdraw. You can say halfway through, when you know more about it, actually, now I know more, this isn't for me. Or something can happen in your life. You know, you might change jobs, you might lose your job, you might have a personal problem. You can actually go, we don't want to do this anymore, or stop and pause. And that happens quite often. Or you can go all the way through the process. So you go, you have to find out, they find out all about you. It's really, really nosy. Do you know what I mean? It's they say we're filling in a form F, and this social worker comes to your house. I mean, I think during COVID it was all online, but they come to your house and they basically poke around your house. They ask you lots of personal questions, but they have to know, you know, they have to do obviously police checks, but what are you like as a person? And it's not whether you've got A levels or GCSEs or O levels. It's what are you like under stress? So they want to know from your family, from your friends, about, you know, what you are as a personality. And there really isn't anyone that they'll go no straight away. They want to know about you as a human being. And then you go on a bit of training. So it's called a Form F. It's typically about 100 pages long. That's how detailed it is. Yeah. So they interviewed our children, for example. They wanted to know, you know, do they understand about fostering? And who's your network of friends and family? So who's going to help you? And can we meet them as well? Because you don't want to do this on your own. Most of us raised, weren't we? We were raised in communities. We've got families, aunties, uncles, the neighbours, the street, and that's what they want to know. Have you got that little gang of people around you who can help you? So they wanted to meet those people. It is incredibly thorough, much more than just going for a job, much more than that. And eventually, you all this paperwork goes to this panel of people, and you have to go and sort of meet this panel of people, and they decide whether you can foster. And if you're my family, so my wife says, right, we're going to panel, don't be making any of your funny jokes, just sit there and just smile and answer the questions properly, and then you get approved to foster. And because we've got kids of our own, the social worker said to us, her name was Pam, who took us through the whole process. And there's normally just like one social worker takes you all the way through the process. And she said, right, because you've got kids, we recommend that you foster children younger than your own. So you've got like a birth order, if that makes sense. So by the time we'd been through all this and applied, our daughter was 8 and our son was 6. And we got approved to foster a child who was, I think, one child who was somewhere between the ages of 0 and 5, something like that. And to tell you the truth, we've only, this is always disappointing, we've only fostered 7 kids, because people always think, oh, is it hundreds and hundreds? And you go, no, it's 7. The shortest time any child ever came to us was for 4 hours. He just came for the afternoon. And the longest time is he's somewhere behind me in the house, and he's been with us nearly 8 years, and he's with us forever. So we never went into it thinking it would be forever, but it's worked for him and it's worked for us. And he's got effectively he's got a family now. And if you can hear any shouting or swearing in the background, it won't be my wife, it'll probably be him.
So how long does the fostering process of the application and all the checks and everything, is there how long does it take?
It is about, I'm going to say it is about 6 months, generally speaking. It can be a bit less, it can be a bit more. For us, because I'm a teacher, my wife was working part-time, so I need to visit you several times to do each section of the report. So the first thing she came onto our house and she looked all around it and said, yeah, your house is a regular family home. That's what we want. You need to have a spare room. You've got a little garden in the back. Brilliant. You live near Sefton Park, Greenbank Park. You've got schools nearby. You've got the sports centre, Wavertree nearby. These are all great things for the kids to go to. You've got a sweet shop on Penny Lane. This is a really easy way to take a kid to a shop who maybe has never been to one. Really basic stuff like that. So the first question was, who are you? And how did you get to where you are now? So they want a life story. So where are you from? Where did you grow up? And this is the thing that's quite interesting, is, believe it or not, I am quite ordinary, but I'm nearly as intelligent as Sandra. Okay, nearly. I've got A levels, O levels. I've got a degree. I've got a master's, but none of that matters at all. It's like, what are you like as a person? So if you haven't got any qualifications at all, it does not matter one iota. It's what are you like as a person? So, for example, hard to believe, but I am already 50. And they said to me, how were you brought up? And I was brought up with a very simple system when I was a kid, which is you do what you're told. You do what you're told. Or there might be some consequences. And but my mum and dad were really, really great. And my mum and dad moved into the house that I grew up in 1975, and they still live in it. So I go back to my family home. I go back to the bedroom I slept in when I was a 6-year-old. Okay, so I've known this stability all my life, and I wanted to share it. And I said, look, I was brought up in the 70s, same as everybody else. It was like, you do what you're told, but you had tons of freedom. And as long as you came back for your tea, nobody cared. That's how it felt to me, anyway. And I did say, though, but there were some people that you liked and respected more than others in school. And I remember we had a teacher called Mr. Marshall, and he'd come out to the playground at the end of playtime, and he'd go, line up, and that's all he had to say. But because we liked him, we all did what he said, and we respected him, and he had clear boundaries, and he was an honest man. And as much as he was what you saw was what you got. And so the social said, so what do you think about that? I said, well, as a teacher, I think that having a relationship with kids, if they know you, if they know that you're for them, if they know that you enjoy what you do, you get a better response from them. And this lady Pam went, brilliant answer, brilliant. So I want to share the stability I had. Now my wife, a little bit different. She grew up in she's from Cheltenham originally. She's the oldest of 4, and everything was going on great. But then her mum and dad had a divorce, and her family home sort of disappeared. And so she didn't have anywhere, like at Christmas, a lot of people still go back home to their mum and dad.
Yeah.
Her family home kind of disappeared, if you like. And so one of her motivations to foster was, well, I had stability, then it went. And I know what that felt like, and I didn't like it. And we've rebuilt with our kids and whatever. We've rebuilt a stable little family unit. And so I know what it's like to lose it. So I want to share it with any kid that needs that. So if you like, totally different motivations, but they're both totally legitimate. And a lot of the people who foster, sometimes they're religious, they're Christians, they're Catholics, whatever. Sometimes they're atheists, doesn't matter. Sometimes they're married and boringly ordinary like us. Sometimes they're not, they're single, they're divorced, they're gay, they're straight. It does not matter. But you do have to go through this assessment process. And in fact, in spite of what I've said about my life being quite boringly ordinary, sometimes if you've had to get over difficulties, so there's been maybe bereavements or struggles or physical health, mental health, all those things can help you become a good foster carer. So some of my very good friends are gay, but this is just a tiny story. And it's interesting because they're my age. So they grew up the same time as me. And because of their sexual orientation, they were made to feel ashamed when they were younger. And I like to think we've got better at that. We're not there yet, but we've got better because they knew what it was like to feel ashamed and have to hide who they were. They had this incredible ability to empathize with kids who were ashamed because they lost their families. But it's for many kids who are in care, they feel it. They feel a sense of shame because they haven't got what other kids have got. So whoever you are, don't rule yourself out. The oldest foster carer I've ever met was 78 and was unbelievable lady. But there's no top age either. But you have to pass a medical. But that basically is, this I don't want to be too facetious, but will you have to keep going to the hospital? And if you do, who's going to look after the kid? That's what they want to know. And you have to have a flexibility in your own lifestyle. So for me, I'm a teacher. So in the holidays, I could look after a kid easy. My wife works family-friendly hours, flexi time. She's part-time. So she can, if we have to take a kid to the doctors or whatever, we can manage that between us. And some foster carers don't have another job. They only foster, get paid to foster. Never going to be rich. Do not believe some of the adverts you'll see about foster carers earning thousands. It is a 24-hour, 7-day a week, 365 days a year job. But we are all sorts. And if you met all the foster carers, occasionally we meet up we have a big Christmas party, and you would never guess what we got. Black, white, gay, straight, single, married, divorced, and Brighton fans. Actually, I think I'm the only Brighton fan I've met who's a foster carer. There must be somewhere, but I don't know.
Brighton.
Have I answered the question? I don't even know what the question was now.
Yeah, no, brilliant. But to draw attention there, Helen, if you notice, we've had some lovely comments there.
So I was just looking at the comments. So Louise Rees-Jones, who's a lovely friend of ours, she says, a great subject to cover. So many children need lovely people to look after them. And our gorgeous Brian Quinn says, this guy's a legend. He's made me cry loads. And I think, already, I know. When we're talking about fostering, there's different types of fostering, isn't there? It's the short term and long term, and now you've got the little person and they're going to stay with you. Just explain a little bit about that for us, of what people can actually sign up for, in effect.
I'm not a social worker, so I'll get some of this wrong, okay? But you can do short term, which is 0 to 2 years, okay? And then you can do long term, which is however long it takes. Then you can do respite, which is or sometimes that's called part-time. So I'll give you an example. Some friends of mine are respite foster carers. So one weekend every month, a little boy comes to stay with them. I won't give you details because he can't. He lives with his grandparents, but it's a little bit stressful. So he gets a weekend with these foster carers, and so his grandparents get a little bit of a breather and a little bit of headspace. And they get this little boy that they've known for maybe over a year now. So he comes up for a weekend. It's his treat. It's not like, oh, you're going in respite. It's like, oh, this is the weekend when I go to them, and they take him here, and they go to the zoo, they go museums, go to libraries, go to all the stuff that most kids do normally. It's brilliant. So there's respite. There's also something called short break, which is a very specialist type of fostering that we've never done, where you look after a child that may have some sort of physical health issue. And so they would live normally with their mum and dad. For whatever reason, the mum and dad need a break as well. So particularly if you're medically trained, that child might be under or somewhere like that, and that child would come and stay with you at a weekend, and you'd be trained in what to do if there's any medical issues. But if you're medically trained already, it's brilliant. And then you get to know that family, because sometimes when you're like us, which is mainstream foster care, you don't necessarily meet the mum and dad. I've never met any of the parents, but I'm going to do a story in a minute that will make you cry. Never met any of the parents that we foster. There's like a social worker between us and them. So there's all sorts of different types of fostering. And to plug it, if you go on the Liverpool City Council fostering website, you'll find lots of different foster carers. Some of us foster only teenagers because we love them, and you get a certain sense of independence because teenagers are not all bad. One of my busy mates, Linda, fosters, she's got 3 girls, and they arrived in this country as unaccompanied asylum-seeking minors. So they arrived with no English, and I know now that they've got GCSEs, they've got A levels. They're just, and I have met them. They're just unbelievable. These girls. Other people, my friends Peter and Gaynor, they only foster babies, and people go, "Oh, that sounds nice, babies," but babies cry.
Yeah.
And they need their nappies changed, and they often have a lot of contact with their birth mum and dad. So you might be asked, can you take this baby to this place so their mum can see them? And also the babies, not always, but very often go and get adopted. So emotionally, some people find doing that quite difficult, because we had one little boy who we fostered for, I might cry now, we fostered for about 15 months, and then he got adopted. And it is brutally, it is brutally beautiful. It is like a birthday and a funeral at the same time. And if anyone's watching, never say to a foster carer, "Oh, I couldn't do it because I'd get too attached and I would be upset when they go," because we do too. And you can see even this story's years ago. It still makes you go, "Oh yeah," But I know he's that little kid. I know he's doing well. So you go, we help.
And do you keep in contact? Are you allowed to keep in contact with them, or it depends on situations?
It depends, but I'll tell you this. Yeah, I'll tell you a story recently. This is going to make me cry because I haven't processed it properly. So we had this little boy. He lived with us. Yeah, he came to us straight from school, and he's from a local school. His mum got ill in the daytime. Okay, so she went to hospital. Hospital rings social workers and go, "We've got this mum here. We know she's got a 10-year-old. He's not going home, so you'll have to sort it out." And so social workers trying to find. She rings through the list of available care. She rings us and says, "Can you take a 10-year-old? We think he's from Eastern Europe, but we don't know." That's all we knew. And we went, there's loads of questions there. What are we going to do? What about tomorrow? What about next week? And we just went, there's a little boy who needs somewhere safe. That's us. We're safe. So we said, yes, we'll take him. This is what I mean about being flexible, because you're thinking, what about tomorrow? What about next week? What about, who cares? Who knows? He needs somewhere to stay. This kid doesn't even know this has happened. The social worker goes to the school, rings the person in charge who looked after children. And this lad, literally, the bell had gone. He was walking out of his lesson last day, numeracy, it was last lesson of the day. And the head teacher and the special teacher for looked after children, and this social worker had to get him, bring him into an office. This is real life, this is happening all over the city. And they say, "Your mum's ill. We don't know where you can see her. We don't know that you want to know. We can't reassure you. You're going to be with family." And this little kid's like, who are they? Do you know what I mean? So this head teacher has to convince this 10-year-old to get into a stranger's car, which, would you tell kids, never go with a stranger? And then you're being told, get in this stranger's car. This social worker drives him 20 minutes from his school to our house, right? And I don't know what they talked about, because this social worker had never met us. So she couldn't say, "Oh, Phil and Helen are really nice. They've got 2 kids." She knew nothing about us. Anyway, this little boy arrives, this 10-year-old arrives in the uniform that he left for school in the morning. So if you've got a 10-year-old and you're listening to this, just think it's your 10-year-old, okay? Or, this could be a 5-year-old as well. And this 10-year-old arrives, he's got his school uniform on. He's got a knockoff Adidas bag because all the letters had peeled off. He got a jarg Adidas bag. In the bag was a pair of swimming trunks and a car care manual. But I don't know why. Because he was Eastern European, I'd looked up on YouTube the Russian for hello. So he came into our house. Yet. And I was so proud, because that's the Russian for hello, hiya. And he looked back at me and he went, in a kind of Scouse Eastern European accent, why are you speaking in Russian? I'm not Russian. I went, oh, sorry.
Oh, don't lose us there, Phil.
I know.
I
I'm
know.
like hanging on every word, and I think Phil's just froze, and I think he's.
Oh my God, Louise has put a very tearful episode tonight, tears of joy and sadness all at the same time. And Michaela has put, my nan fostered teen, sadly no longer with us. Some of my family is still in contact with some of the people who came into our family. And I watch Long Lost Families every week, Helen.
I don't watch it. I can't, because I'd be an absolute.
Oh,
hang on. I think he's coming back in another. I'm going to remove that one.
And let him in.
And then I'm going to add this one, and hopefully this is going to work, because that was like an episode of EastEnders with the cliffhanger at the end. When it goes, dum, 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 here's the next in the instalment.
I'll tell you where we lost you, Phil, then. Oh, yeah.
Am I back?
Brian
You're
Quinn's
back.
It's like a Bette Midler movie, laughing through my tears. The comments we've got coming through are brilliant. So carry on. So the child, you spoke to him in Russian and he said, why are you talking to me in Russian? I'm not Russian.
Yeah.
Go on.
I'm not Russian. So it was a bit like telling Hausa that he was a mank. What are you doing this? And me and basically went, oh, all right. And chatting about hula hoop, blue, the red, because I thought that's an easy question, because you can't say to him, you know, how was your day? What's tomorrow? Because he doesn't know any of those things. He didn't know what was going on. And me and my son and him, we ended up playing FIFA. And I can't tell you where he is from, but he was wanting to be the country where he's from. And we ended up playing FIFA all evening. We had a great night. And in the morning, you know, my wife was able to nip to Asda and get him a bunch of clothes. And, you know, that's all paid for. But, you know, he hadn't got anything with him. And he lived with us for 6 months. And on one particular occasion, it was 2012, so it's a while ago, the Champions League was on and we were watching it. And it was when Chelsea beat Bayern Munich 1-0 on penalties. And Torres was in the Chelsea team. And I happened to have an old Torres top. And when he left us, I said to him, so he left us after about 6 months. No, more than that, I think. And we had a goodbye meal in the, and I said, where do you want to go for your goodbye meal? Anywhere you want, any restaurant. And he went, I want to go to the McDonald's in the Dingle. And I went, of all the restaurants in Liverpool, you want to go to the Dingle McDonald's, which is a fine Mackey's. Don't get me wrong, but it just made me laugh. So we went to this Mackey's in Dingle, and I gave him this top with Torres on the back. And it's a long story, but it happened to be a Chelsea top. Anyway, Chelsea were in the Champions League final this May. So we're talking 9 years later. Hadn't heard from this kid for 8-9 years. Okay. And I had a picture of him with this top on with Torres. And I blacked out his face because I couldn't show it. And I put it on Instagram, this little story. It's going to make me cry. And I was going to this little lad, hope you're okay. You know, just like out into the ether. Hope you're okay, son. Don't know where you are. Anyway, he found me that night. And he went, I remember you. I remember watching Chelsea win the Champions League in 2012. And here we are again. He said, here we are again, 2021. Chelsea have won it again. And so he sent me this message. And I don't know how he found me, maybe because I'm just called Phil Watson, I think, or Fostering Phil or something on Instagram. Yeah. And he tracked me down. And his mum's well.
Yeah.
His amazing. Mum's healthy. He lives with his mum. He lives with his gran and his granddad and his dog. And he's at university in the country where he's from. And he's got. He said, I did really well in my English exams, but they said I had a funny accent because he spoke English with a Scouse accent.
Amazing.
So he kept using Scouse slang. Yeah, it's a lovely story.
That's amazing, isn't it? And it's the power of social media, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
So, you know, social media's, you know, it's got its bad things, hasn't it? But
it can also be great.
Yeah, and that Long Lost Families the other day, they had people who'd been in foster care together and one had gone away, and she was like, but they all each other had, do you know what I mean? And so the relationship between the two foster children was so tight. Yeah. And one lad got taken away, and it was and they found each other, and it was like everything to them because it was the only thing they had from their childhood. Do you know?
So I can't be doing with this, okay? Because my nickname is Tiny Tears anyway. Yeah. So I've got like Tiny Tears is the nickname, and then I have got like a couple of little tears going on there because it's just like the emotion that creates, and the impact that you've had on that little person, you know, for 6. Oh, he's gone again.
And
For goodness sake.
I think he might be a normal family. They need a broadband upgrade in Penny Lane. Okay. How traumatic, but amazing.
At least we got the end of the story this time.
The council website for fostering is going to crash after this.
He's coming back in. He's coming back in a minute.
So
and Brian Quinn says, just awesome. Yeah, he's coming back in.
And Louise Rees-Jones has said such an amazing story as well. Yeah, so you're very popular tonight, Phil. And it's like we're doing it serialized as well.
Yeah, sorry about that. There must be something about Penny Lane. But every foster carer you meet will have stories like this, and they'll have challenging stories as well. So I'll give you one of what could be difficult. Is we had this little man, and he was very, very stressed, very anxious. He was really pushing the boundaries, and what he was doing, he would make up a reason why he wanted to be with you, and he said on this all week, he says, I need an iPhone 10. And we went, what, an iPhone 10 phone? He went, yeah, I need one. Got to have one now. And we were like, well, you know, they're very expensive. You're only 6. You can't have one. And he went on and on about it. And bearing in mind, you know, this had happened Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. By about midnight on Friday night, okay? So we'd had all, since he come on from school, so we'd had 7 or 8 hours of this. I said, got an idea. Why don't we go to Cash Converter, see if they've got an iPhone 10? And my wife had gone to bed, and I was taking this shift, if you like. And we walked from where we live to the Cash Converter. And I went the longest route possible, because I knew that, because I learned it on a course, that his adrenaline would be high. And by walking, you would get the adrenaline out of his body. We get to Cash Converter at about 1 in the morning. And of course, it's shut with the shutters down. And I went, oh, no, it's shut. And he went, oh no, you know, that was such a good idea. What are we going to do? And I went, I've got another idea. Why don't we go home and make an iPhone 10? We can print out a picture from, you know, Google. Then we can get cardboard recycling bin, pizza boxes, and we can make one. He went, yeah, good idea. So we walked back, took another 45 minutes to do this little walk, got home, printed it all out, stuck it together, sellotaped it together. It's like 3 in the morning by now. And I went, there we go, we've got a phone. And he went, yeah, okay. And he went to bed. And then the next day, he was invited to a party, because we always looking for what has made him so anxious.
Yeah.
And we thought, because we were new to this party, was a great thing, but it had worried him. And when I took him to the party, he was gripping this iPhone 10 in his hand. And when I took him, and I realized, I said, you know, you asked the question, I wonder why you're worried. That's how you train to do it as a foster carer. You're trained to ask, what is it? What is going on behind this kid's anger, this kid's fear, this kid's happy? What is behind it? Anyway, what was worrying him was, where was the toilet at the party? Would he like the food? Would there be strangers there? And there would be, because it's a party. But once I took him in, and once I got him settled, and he saw his friends from school, absolutely fine. But we'd had it, you know, that night before, if I hadn't been trained, if I didn't know what I was doing, I'd have gone, you can't have an iPhone 10. You need to go to bed.
Yeah.
You know, and actually what he needed was me to be as close to him as possible. Because that little boy, I remember one day, he put every morning when we got him ready for school, he'd always get me and my wife to put his shoes on, you know, help him, even though he could do it himself. And then one day, they're only Velcro, it wasn't difficult, do you know what I mean? Then one day he did it himself. And then the next day, and I said to my wife, have you noticed? And she went, yeah, I've noticed. He's putting his shoes on himself. And what is leaving the house is scary, isn't it? Even when you're with your mum and dad, it's a scary thing to go to school. So mums and dads often give a hug or a kiss. Well, he didn't do that. He created his own routine, which was be close to me, help put my shoes on, and then I'd be ready to go. And him putting his shoes on himself was a sign of, you know what, forget about GCSEs and A levels and all that. This kid is becoming more independent. He's feeling that our house is safe. He'll leave and he'll come back. Again, another thing, he used to always take something with him. We'd give him something to say, keep this, it's special. When you see me again, you give it back to me. And it was a little trick. Lots of foster carers do it. Go, you will come back to me. I will not let you down. You are safe in our house, and it is your house too. You know, for our little man who's been in this, it's your home.
Listen to you all night. You honestly,
I couldn't because I need a box of tissues.
But only got so long left though. What an amazing. What we're going to do, Phil, is I'm going to put a link to the page for the council fostering, etc., on our Success in the City page. Okay, and any less, let's just crack on, because honestly, you're just mesmerizing. We could have you on for like 3 hours, no bother. What an amazing guest you've been. Helen, give us your red face for this week, because I'm dying to hear it.
Okay, so I didn't tell you this last week. So my red face was I went to park run on Saturday, and park run is not on in Croxteth Park until the 21st of August. So I went to Stad Moors in Wistony, somewhere like that. Prescott, I think it is, wherever. So I went there. Anyway, they don't have toilet facilities there. Okay, so I did park run. No, I didn't do a Paula Radcliffe.
Okay.
But I took it, so the dog comes with me, and you know, the dog and I run together. And I got to the end and I thought, God, I'm dying for a wee. I thought, I'm never going to make it home. I'll go and have a wild wee. So I went in the bushes for a wild wee, put my foot on this like stick thing. My foot fell like that, and a weed on my shoe. So I then had to just go over. I was going to meet Margie and say hello to her, and I just had to text and say, mate, I had to go because I needed a wee, but I didn't have weed on my shoe.
That's
so there you go. That's
me. When I weed one time, I had to have a wild wee, as you put it, which is a good way of saying it, in a bush in Mulvama. And then I screamed as this guy who was obviously training for the army in camouflage had a big backpack on and was the other side of the bush. And I was like, ah! It was so
well, he was good in his camouflage if you didn't see him.
And he wasn't even apologetic. He was just like carrying on. That was awful. That's why when we talked about going up Kilimanjaro, which we are doing, it's just being postponed because of the fiasco that's gone. My first concern was toilet facilities. Anyway, okay.
Anyway, we've got 3 minutes left. Okay, and
grown-ups.
A quick shout out to grown-ups, because I really want Phil to do his top tip. But
okay.
Shout out to grown-ups first. Go on, quick.
Okay, my shout out to grown-ups is for an hour for others. Sorry, Phil. It's an hour for others and what they've done, because they've just been amazing with these kids, that they're doing all these activities all summer long. Go on, Phil, over to you. What's your shout out?
Yeah, my shout out would be to all my fellow foster carers and adopters as well, who are doing a great job, because COVID has not been kind to us. Yeah. And I know the summer can seem very long, but you'll get there. You'll be okay.
Brilliant.
Amazing. Brilliant. And before we came on here, we were talking about skill shares and top tips and things like that. And Phil's got an amazing top tip that he's going to share. So this is a bit of a skill share, bit of a positive challenge. I think it merges into to both. So share that with us, Phil.
Yeah, one thing I've learned with my family is always eat at a table, whether there's just me and my wife or your kids, your partner, however many there are. Make your table bigger if you need to. Eat at a table. You learn more. I know I'm a teacher, so Sandra, you learn more at a table about life and how to get on in life than you will in any other environment. Always eat at a table.
Yeah. And what was your other tip to go with that? What are you not allowed to have at the table?
Phones. No screens at the table.
Yeah.
So sit at a table and and also when you eat at a table, you do sit better, and it's easier to digest the food, and you're more appreciative of the food you have, rather than because you're more mindful of what you're eating and not of looking at the telly.
And sorry, go on, Hal.
I was going to say, we always had to eat at the table until Neighbours started. And when Neighbours started, like years ago, we were like, oh, can we sit and have it on our knee watching the telly? And my mum was like, no, you can't. Anyway, then we were allowed to then every now and again. But most of the time we sit at the table. I know.
Oh, no, I think it's really important. And we always used to say, right, what was your best bit today? What funny thing happened today? And it just opens conversation as well. And you had a positive challenge as well, didn't you, Phil? What was your positive challenge? Were you going to say about
remind me, what did I say?
About just checking out the fostering?
Yeah, if you've ever considered fostering, don't rule yourself out. Get on the council website, find out about it, and then ring them up. I know that a lot of the socials ring them up. If you can't do it, fine, but find out, don't rule yourself out, because you could make a difference to a kid. There's 1,540 kids in care in Liverpool. They all need somewhere safe to live. It could be your house.
Yeah, brilliant. You've just
Amazing.
been
Yeah. Amazing, absolutely blown away. And we knew when we met you that you were going to be amazing. We didn't think you were going to be this good. So yeah. Bright Quinn says the best guest ever, and he does little clappy hands like that. And you're going to give us a closing quote, Phil. We've got 10 seconds. And your closing quote was,
foster carers make a difference. Think about becoming one.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
And thank you very much. And we'll see you all next week.